Hey guys, it's Matt. This video is the big NPC debate, the NPC Royal Rumble. I'll present everything I know or everything anybody's ever told me about the issue. I'll try to objectively present both sides. I'll give you a background if you don't know what I'm talking about in terms of the different types of incarnations that may be here on this place we call Earth with us, one of which these people are labeled NPC. Over time, I've moved away or tried to move away from considering a whole class of people video game background characters. That's not very, it's very not very kind to them, and and I don't want to doom them. We don't want to doom them. They maybe have a chance to become real boy Pinocchio, real girl Pinocchio someday. So I'm going to try to objectively present both sides, and there's a huge new factor that needs to come into the equation that I should have talked about a year and a half ago because I saw it happening, mostly with Pam and her friends, but it's been confirmed over and over and over. I've never heard anybody talk about this in terms of the NPC quote debate, if you if you will, in terms of the outdoor activities, the hiking, biking, camping, all of would a complete background character in a video game because of the scales tipping or reality tipping in terms of CV early 2020, would millions of background characters in a video game take to hiking, biking, and fishing and getting back to nature? Well, if Tony, who provides me guidance in certain areas, is listening, he said, "Yeah, their avatar bodies animated by the nature spirit. Of course, they're going to take to." Well, I'll get into all that, guys. Um, I want to say again, I always want to say it's not a 1.25 exercise, but um, I don't know. Somebody maybe like Jupiter Jones got it cleaning the toilets and what's that called? Jupiter Ascending. That movie, as bad as it is, it's interesting to me, and it definitely has some major truth drops regarding loosh and energy harvesting and things like that. But that character, that actor that played Stephen Hawking, he's horrible. I have no idea how he got even a role in his eighth grade. I was going to say his eighth grade high school play, but maybe there's eighth graders that are associated with high school. He shouldn't even been in a high school play. That guy is horrible. Fantastic Beasts? Are you kidding me? Guys, coming up, I'm doing a whole big presentation, mostly typed out, and most of it's written out about, again, stalled century. the, I, what's going on with this stalled century where everything is stalled, nothing ever gets better, the same themes are recycled over and over again. I've got a whole stalled century presentation. I guess I'll try to deliver tomorrow. There's some, I don't know, they called for ice this morning, but it doesn't seem like it's going to happen. And then a huge drop in the temperatures and winds and things. Again, if I ever go away for 3 days, it's just, I've lost electricity again, like we're in southern Baghdad or something. But I don't think it's going to happen. They scared us over the last 3 days, but it doesn't seem to be panning out. Guys, before the big, huge NPC, I'll present both sides as objectively as I can, and then at the end tell you what I think. And if you could hold off commenting, the whole one of the main points of this video is to present new information that you might not have heard about or might not considered. So even if you're sure my uncle's an NPC or in the same classic way Dolores Cannon described it, and I'll talk about that, hold off on commenting. Hold off on your vote. That's the whole point of this video, to present new information on both sides. And before I do, if anybody's gone, what the heck is this? Um, the person that sent me, I wish they would email me so I could thank them. Email addresses on the website. Um, the person that sent me the Fisher Price telephone also sent me this T-shirt as well as another T-shirt. I don't know if I can show the other one on camera, but this is somehow he captured Governor Connolly's head as Governor Connolly was giving, of course, a completely legitimate interview in his bed with his wife on the other side. She wasn't in any way a prop or in any way set up to present an image on camera. That was completely legitimate. He captured the face, and then underneath it says Dallas, but it says Dallesh. It doesn't. It says Dallas. What are people going to say when I walk around the mall? I don't go to the mall, but wherever I go, it's the head captured from the video and it gives me another excuse to say Dallesh. I'm not going to do the whole invitation now because I forget exactly. Has he, Mr. President? I'm not going to do it. That sounded like Nixon. That was terrible. But thank you. I love the T-shirt. Dallesh, this is awesome. And we'll, as soon as I get the chance, I'm going to memorize the whole minute, and then we'll make fun of Governor Connolly many times going forward on this channel. Not as much as Bono, not as much as Bono, but definitely not as much as Sting. But guys, before I get into the great NPC debate on both sides, people are like, Matt, get into it. No, I'm not going to get into it. I'm not going to. People want to. They want to sit back, relax. Peter Stuyvesant's have it's Friday evening for many people. I'm not going to just jump into it. Matt, let me get the information out of you, then I can jump over to BitChute. This channel's not for you anymore. We don't do that anymore. We ponder. We things unfold. It takes a while. Guys, before starting the great NPC debate, again, I'll try to be objective on both sides. Just give me 3 or 4 minutes. I just wanted to do a mini recap on the Free Voice video last week on Sting. I've listened to the album several times since I made the Free Voice video about Sting. Those that didn't see it, it was on freevoice.io. Sting presented a live concert called All This Time, kind of a collection of his greatest hits, in his chateau or estate in Tuscany, called like Il Pelagio. And it basically happened right officially, right after the moment, or a few hours after 7/11/2001, A Job Application, A Space Odyssey. So again, for those that didn't see it, and the opening lyrics, it just, guys, I'm trying to do a recap on it, but as I've listened to this all week, this album, I find more and more things. It's so spooky, so disturbing to me to start a concert that is in some way contributing to the spell, or I don't know how to say it. I don't, who knows what creepy how they operate, but it potentially could have started the moment of at 8:47. We don't know when it started. 8:47 plus 6 hours in Italy. What if they started the concert with, it's called, um, I don't know what I forget the name of the song, number one, but the concert starts that could have literally started at the moment of, they admit it was recorded on the day, and there's a backstory. Oh, we just, fans flew in. It was partially to, yeah, the elite insiders flew in, and the presentation is, we had folks from the fan club, and we were going to go ahead with the presentation, even though we knew 7/11/2001, A Job Application, A Space Odyssey just happened. We're still going to have the concert. I mean, there's just no doubt if you listen to those lyrics that it's all part of the ritual. And I guess I could just go. I'm so fascinated by it. I go round and round and round forever. I need to stop. But what's the name of the first song? Um, he starts off the concert, the first line, 10 seconds in, on the day. If if blood will flow when flesh and steel are one. Are you kidding me? Guys, I'm just saying the same stuff I said in the Free Voice video. I just can't get over it. I can't. And then you have other things are coming to me as I'm listening this week. Excuse me. Other things are coming this week as I'm listening. Starting of a brand new day. Yeah, ushering in a whole new reality system, a brand new day. I mean, it's just, I will revisit that again. It's sorry, guys. I don't like people like, what's that have to do with the NPC? I'm sorry. I just had to do a little bit of recap on that. It's so fascinating to me. And I'm going to listen to it 10 more times because I like the music too, but really break down the lyrics and come back and do another one. Anyway, so guys, the NPC. Let's start with the basics for those that want to settle in. For the others, you can go to BitChute now. It'll be time to go to BitChute. It's going to take a little while to play out. But the first I ever heard of the NPC was a Dolores Cannon presentation, and her videos have been on the internet. Well, she's probably been dead for 4 or 5 years. Her videos have been on the internet close to 10 years, or at least that's when I came upon them, I think 8 to 10 years ago. And she started talking about the concept of the NPC. And again, let's say I heard this or 9 years ago. I've never fathomed this before. I didn't know this was even possible. Not only we think it's possible now, and many of us think it's probable, but let's just start with the basics. She's talking about I remember clearly she said you go to an airport and it's just packed. Most of those people aren't real like you are. 80, I don't know what she said. It seemed that the impression I took away from it was like 80%, 90% just background people generated by the reality itself. She basically said it in no way the same as you, people like you and people like me, not the same at all. Somebody commented like, why do we always just immediately see Zara's butt? And I don't know, she does that. She jumps up and she'll turn. Um, so I thought, wait a second, there's a chance, and then it resonated with me that like, yeah, I mean, what really resonated me right from the start was well, I don't know if they're complete NPCs. And for anybody that's struggling or anybody new, an NPC is a non-player character. It was a video game concept that was introduced 20 years ago. You're playing your little fighter in a Diablo or Dungeons and Dragons game. You can control him or her, and then you go into the inn, and the innkeeper says, "Hi, friendly traveler." It just they're running scripts. Um, they're not controlled by any person. It's just running scripts or algorithms of the game, and that's what it seems like a lot of people around us are doing. So Dolores Cannon introduced this idea. Maybe there was somebody that introduced it before. It doesn't matter. And as we started to think it through, the way people act really did start to line up with the concept of the NPC, the running of scripts. What I've noticed, and many have noticed, especially the Mandela effect, have noticed the download or receiving the download. And I won't tell the story again, but just 15 seconds. A friend of mine gave answers a certain way about the Mandela effect, and then paused and I'd like to change. He didn't say it this way. He's just started changing all his answers. It was like, I'd like to change all my answers after I paused and got some sort of firmware update. I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen huge once, but kind of twice. And at least I've seen it like if to lesser degrees, probably more than that. But there's been so many people that have emailed me over the years, like, yeah, I've seen that. My sister did that or my brother did that. Took the download, and then what it does is it's like a firmware update. It resets them to the new reality, resets them to or tunes them more to the frequency, so they just parrot back whatever the reality wants. So at first it seemed like, well, Matt, I thought it too, that's 100% evidence that that's an NPC. Who would take a firmware update? Well, not necessarily. Not necessarily. As time went on and things evolved, we started talking about real people, the realities out to reverse Pinocchio people, turn a real entity, a real soul or spirit into wood, move them down so they align their frequency with what the reality is broadcasting at a certain station. Then they will act like NPCs. They will go along with everything Dr. F says. But that doesn't mean I've moved away from this over the years. It doesn't mean that they're NPCs, even though they're acting like NPCs, because the reality is very good at getting even real people, I think, to tune to the frequency. So let's just back up. Dolores Cannon was the first, and then a million of us in this community, we're not 1%. We're the one half of 1%. We started noticing these behaviors, and then the concept of the NPC started to get very popular in these truth circles. Okay, that's that. Now, let me just share. It's probably appropriate to share some of the things that Tony has told me about related to the concept of the NPC. So many of us, before I got in touch with Tony, or he started to share certain things with me, many of us thought or came to the conclusion that all the people out here, we're not all the same. The line in the Declaration of Independence, all men are created equal. Many of us came to the conclusion that like there's an entity difference. Like Melvin P is not the same. Here we go again, as you and me. It's like the way Shooter McGavin talks in Happy Gilmore. Melvin P is not the same as you and me. Zara, people want to see you, and then she goes away. And and then we thought, well, then my brother-in-law, he's not the same. So then we struggle with this, and here's Tony's take. And maybe there are more types of incarnations, but he's told me about three. And the third classification relates to the NPC debate that we're having here. He would say the people listening to this, if you're exploring these sorts of things and trying to rediscover, remember who you really are in a whole reality system. Did she just step on the mute? I don't think so. The whole reality system that tries to hide us from who we really are and our spiritual self. He would say we're the highest level. Tony would say we're the highest level, called always confuses, called a simultaneous incarnation of higher self. Tony would say, again, there's a lot of Christians here that when I stray like this, they put up with me because we have more in common than where we disagree. We are in the same foxhole together, quote, battling a very, very dark thing here that we're up against. So we have more in common. But he would say that the higher self, an aspect of you spiritually that's not here, has a variety of different aspects of itself in a variety of different games. And you are one aspect of it. Doesn't belittle your importance. You know, higher self needs you to collect information to play the game, but there's multiple going on, not at the same time period, and maybe not even in the same place, and not the same as Colin's speech either from Black Mirror Bandersnatch, but similar. So that's one entity. Again, this is Tony's presentation, or if I could put words in his mouth, I'll get something wrong. He'll yell at me. But the second would be what Melvin P is, Melvin and Bezo. These are, according to Tony, sequential incarnations. These are those that have the billions here. That I'll only say PTB. I'm not going to use words of. I'm not going to do a Star Trek, retrocausality where we keep feeding upon the loop, causing their power to increase by these terms like elite, and I'll just say PTB powers. That what that is. I'm not gonna. We have to move away from these terms. Well, Matt, you have with not milk. Okay, I'll use not milk again, but everybody, I haven't used it in a while, and many people might not be familiar with what that is. It's my term for the reality itself, which actually that's more of the screen reality, not what we're talking about now, the minion class, those that occupy an avatar or a body. So he would say they're sequentials, and they do carry a degree of past life remembrance, if that's a word. They carry forth knowledge, ancient knowledge. They have, buttons and levers of how the reality works that as our type of incarnation comes in with a complete mind wipe, has no idea who we are. And then from day one, the reality's out to fool us and hide us from who we really are. If you go through kindergarten through 12th grade, at least in North America, not one time in kindergarten through 12th grade, high school, and then might as well extend it into college, master's, and PhD, not one time will you hear a teacher use the word soul or spirit. Now, what more do you need to know about the reality itself and what it's up to? Not one time will you hear that in school when these aspects of what we are, even if much of it you still could classify as theory because we won't know until we die, but they're not discussed at all. I mean, what more do you need to know about the reality itself? So we have the Melvin P's and Bezoses, the sequentials, those in control, and again, I don't like these words, but then we have the simultaneous incarnations. But then let's not stray too far from the purpose of this video. The last is basically what Tony would describe as an NPC, but the idea is that you can't have a body. It's not a video game. It's not a projection. Okay, um, we are bodies and avatars, and you need something to animate or spark the body or the avatar. It just doesn't turn on its own. Your car does not start up without the battery. So he talks about it, and I don't understand it, but some sort of the soul is of the nature spirit, I think he's called it. So there could be 70, 80% of what you may call NPCs that aren't the same spiritually as you, and me and aren't the same as Melvin and Bezos. But there still needs to be something local, like a soul that animates the body or the avatar, which I think believe he calls like the nature spirit, which is associated with whatever generates this reality experience. Someone would say Gaia or whatever is here, whatever might. And I don't know if he said this, but I interpret it as the same thing that might animate birds or a bear in the woods. Or that's not very refreshing information for your brother-in-law who may be this. But I've never really asked him. Do you is it is are they still background players, or are they doomed or to not go on or whatever, or just animated locally, or are they just way spiritually behind us, or even behind Melvin P. and do that? But can they evolve, and can they wooden Pinocchio become real boy, real girl? And I get the sense they can. For me, I get this. I think Tony would say the same thing. It's not like they're complete. Again, the way Dolores Cannon presented it was more like it's just background players, like just like a video game. Send your little paladin or little ranger into an inn, like, "Hi, weary travelers." Hi, the same script. And boy, if that's the case, then like some of my friends that run the scripts as to what CV is and what happened on 7/11 2001: A Space Odyssey, and what happened, they just run the same scripts, call us the same conspiracy names. They do run their scripts, and we notice their patterns, and we notice their download, and we notice they're on the ship of fools, the river of insanity. But they do have a spark to that. It's not a dead NPC the way, was it Jumanji 1 or 2, where The Rock and Jack Black, and you know how that worked. Like there's the kid's soul was, or body was transformed into this video game Jumanji, and then the person driving just runs the scripts like a complete NPC from a video game. Like if The Rock says something to the driver that doesn't really compute, the driver will just spit back the exact same rote parroted answer. And people seem to have more, even people that we know aren't the same as us, seem to have more of a spark. You can look in their eyes, and there's something there. I mean, it's not dead. So, Tony would say that they're not on the same level as a simultaneous incarnation of higher self. And I think Tony would agree that if you're watching this or you're exploring these issues, you're likely, or 99%, that's what you are. And the last bit of good news, in a sea of not so great news as we look out our window or watch the news, he would say, and then we'll continue. But this is I'm just delivering everything that Tony might want to contribute to this conversation if I'm interpreting his information that he's provided me correctly. He would say that kind of rejoice, because he goes, if you're a simultaneous, yeah, damn, I always get that mixed up. A simultaneous incarnation of higher self. You are the absolute highest level. Coming into this reality system with a mind wipe, he would say, is just completely hardcore, the most courageous, ballsy thing any spirit, at least at our level, can do. And congratulate. You immediately went for, if it's a Price is Right game, you went, Bob, I want to shoot for the car, a brand new car. You want to, you don't care about the free range and the toaster, and you're going right for the big prize spiritually, he would say. And he would say, it takes tremendous balls to do what we did. He says, like the Melvin P's, that incarnation, they're way behind us. I don't think he's not saying this to make me feel better, to make himself feel better. He's provided a ton of information that supports this. And even if you're coming this from a religious perspective or a Christian perspective, it's pretty. No matter what your religious perspective is, it's pretty clear that is Matt and you, are we the same as Melvin P? Are we the same incarnation as Alec Baldwin? No. So even if some of the details here are a little wrong, we're not the same as them. They're playing it safe. They're big fish in little pond. They can dominate this reality system. Well, so what? In the grand scheme of things, so what? What's that? Nothing. Big deal. Great. like a giant fish popping up out of a Home Depot bucket. This is my world. I'm the king of the world. It's a you're a fish in a Home Depot bucket. Who the f cares? I'm gonna move. I was just in that Home Depot bucket of the Earth system. I'm gonna go over here to the ocean. Have fun in your stupid ass bucket. They're kind of they're he would say they're addicted. They're addicted to the reality game. There's so much prestige, so much not from us, but so much prestige, so much wealth, so much fun on the back of speedboats that they don't want to give it up. They're not willing to take the plunge like we have. But that's for another video. This is again more about the NPC. So I haven't even introduced the most important part of the reason I wanted to make this video is one thing that if you're weighing on this side, the Dolores Cannon, people like I'm with Dolores Cannon, Matt. They're just background people. They run the same scripts, the same stupid stuff at Thanksgiving. They talk about, oh, what are you doing in the stock market, and this and that, and oh, well, politics comes. They run the same scripts, Matt. They're just NPCs, man. And then over here, somebody have more a little more compassion and say, well, have they've been tuned, even real people have been tuned that way. They've been they've been on the ship of fools so long they've been tuned to that frequency. They may be behind you or me spiritually, but they're not doomed. They have a chance. They're a baby soul, a new soul. They might have to go through this a long, long time, but they'll come through eventually, whether in the equivalent of the US of this reality system, a million years. I mean, all we have in this place is we can just put a timestamp on it, which doesn't really seem to make sense outside of here. But that maybe they're all we can do is put a timestamp on it, put it into terms we understand. They're a million years behind in soul progression. So I cut a little bit off. I need to get to the main point as to why I was even making this video. Um, the hiking and biking and nature trails, Zara, come back, and kayaking that, do you want to call them NPCs? It's so disparaging. I'm switching. I'm going baby souls. I need a better name, but that's better for now. The baby souls, if you're having this debate, this NPC debate, have shown signs of being very real in terms of Matt, what are you talking about? Most of you guys know, but when we got to April, May in North America of 2020, say 3 months in major league into this thing, the regular people started to take to hiking and biking and nature trails and the Appalachian Trail and kayaking and boating and outdoor activities. The spike has never been bigger in our lifetime. There's no question about it. Not only was there, reporting about it, and I had on firsthand information. Pam, what have I said about? I'm not going to call her. I'm just going to say I have in the past called her an NPC. We're again, get away from that. But let's just say from Pam, I've mentioned nobody is more into her iPhone 11. If that's the latest number they're up to, whatever the new phone has to have it, Facebook posts, etc., etc. Well, Matt, what do you have in common with someone like that? It's a long story. It's a long story. Well, let's just leave it at that. I've known her for 20, I think, plus years at this point. It's a long story, but so I've called her NPC, and I'm not going to do that anymore. But she never did hiking and biking and all this stuff. In fact, she was rather soft. It was 52 degrees and high winds. She won't go out. She needs earmuffs, and it's too cold. And she changed. I mean, I've never se- she might have gotten into some of the hiking a little bit before, but when this thing hit, all her friends, they started joining hiking clubs and meetup groups, and now she has her own hiking club. And then they just this millions and millions of people that we consider like regular people or normies. Matt, that's disparaging too. It is. But they took to all these outdoor activities. Now the point, you know where I'm going with this. A complete NPC that's a background player just being driven by scripts as part of a simulated reality video game does not take to outdoor activities as a reaction, like as a yin and yang reaction to what was being presented by the dark in April, March and April and May of 2020. It was a reaction, and it's the greatest evidence that this group has, the best evidence of all time that they're very real. I mean, I don't know how anybody could take the other side of that. You have a whole group of people that did nothing more than watch and believe the news, participate on Facebook and Instagram, love the TikTok dancing, um, just every single thing we would call the behavior of an NPC. Then, well, Matt, there is another side to this, but and I'll present that in a second. But this group took to nature big time. Now, not everyone, but millions and millions. I've seen it with Pam's group, hiking groups. They do stuff all the time. The group grows and grows and grows and grows in size. She's told me through the spring and summer of 2020, you go out to REI or whatever, you can't find a kayak. They're all sold out. You can't find this piece of camping equipment. They're all sold out. And I don't know what they are now, but there was that period where you couldn't get this type of shoe. It's all millions of. Okay, Matt, we got it. Now, to me, there's no way simply a background entity like a video game character does this. It's the best evidence to me that they are real. Are they on the same level of, I mean, again, we'll just you keep going in the same loop. Baby souls needs a lot more lifetimes to learn. I mean, the point is simple. Um, no background character does this. It's in some way these people are real based on how they took to nature. And the only way to make the other side that I can put together here, if anybody wanted to present the other side, is, well, Matt, Tony said that the soul or spirit of certain people are animated by what that's an element or part of the game board itself, part of the nature spirit, Gaia, Earth, in some way tied into whatever makes a bird a bird. Well, they don't like, they have certain ways they need to be. They don't like being locked inside either. And as a reaction to, they went, maybe this is the other side. They went to get closer to their mother. If Tony's right, that the nature spirit, or whatever the thing is called, animates these people. The body cannot get up and run around on its own. It needs a spark. It needs a soul. It needs I don't know, but it needs, that etheric thing we can't see to animate it as the spark. Somebody on the other side may say, yeah, man, they went out to get close to mother. They went out to nature. Maybe. Okay, I've never thought of it. It's just kind of coming on the fly. I've never thought of it like that, but I'm still not going to move off where I am. It's a very, very, I, I don't want to use the word human, real spirited human five-finger being. It's a really genuine thing as a reaction to what the dark was started to do in April and March of 2020 to go out and get close to nature. I mean, you might have done it. I did more of it. Go chopping wood or whatever. It was a very natural and, for lack of better words, human thing to do. So, Bill Murray in Caddyshack, when the Dalai Lama was going to stiff him. Can I do the? Oh boy, it's a really risk to do the voice without seeing it first, without trying to imitate by seeing it. Hey Lama, how about a little something for the effort? Yeah. He says, there'll be no money, but on your deathbed, you'll receive total consciousness. So I got that going for me. Now, when we saw Caddyshack, we thought that was a great thing. Oh, well, we don't really believe Carl carried the bags around the Himalayas for the Dalai Lama as he hit 3 woods up and down the mountain. But if there's a 1% chance it's real and the Dalai Lama, granted on his deathbed, he'll receive full consciousness, we kind of thought, well, that's Carl's got something we coveted. But that's the worst thing in the world. If we look at it now, it's like a recycling reincarnation Saturn Moon Matrix truth drop. Or I'm not push I don't push Saturn Moon Matrix, guys. If there is a way the creeps or the archons can move a real human into coming back into a body, I believe the work we're doing here obviously will translate. If we see, it makes sense. If you see through the tricks here, we're going to see through the tricks through the portal of death. It's not like we're going to do all this work here, see through all the tricks, drop all the veils, put on full armor, and then we're just going to be completely tricked upon death. No, it'll carry forth, and I don't think they're going to be able to touch us. But so assuming some people are manipulated to come back, think of what was presented in Caddyshack. Upon your deathbed, you'll receive total consciousness back into a body, so you have to do it all over again. So what sounded great to us when we saw the movie in '84 or whenever it was, '82, for some of us, not so good, not so good now. I should go back. I haven't seen Caddyshack for oof, 15 years or so. I should go back and look for truth drops outside of the Baby Ruth floating around the pool. There's got to be, there's might be more, maybe there's more there than just, Carl's recycling type of Dalai Lama drop, but I'll check it out and report back. So these people are taking to nature, and I thought when I first started making this presentation, I thought that was 100% evidence on one side of the scale, proving they're way, way more real than many of us believe. And I still think it is tremendous evidence that they are much more real. And maybe that they're still wood, but they have a chance to become real boy, real girl, Pinocchio. But I didn't realize the other side that again, if Tony's right, maybe they're just trying to they don't even though they might be NPCs, they're still, what are they programmed with? They're programmed with what is best in this life. Matt, don't do the Arnold Schwarzenegger. I'm not going to do it. I'm not. I'd love to do it, but I'm not going to do it. What is best in this life? The NPC, if they are that, is programmed with status, um, likes and dislikes, prestige, a second car, a second home, material possessions, sex acts. They're still programmed to want all the things that you can only get them by going out into society, by not being locked down in South Melbourne. You need to go out and, so the lockdowns are still, they're not, even though they might be an NPC type, they're not going to rejoice that they're locked down, because their complete programming is go out, run the rat race, work 70 hours a week, have the kids in 87,000 different activities, save with the investments to get that second home, the second. It still hindered them in running the race, the NPC race they may be designed to run via whatever scripts they run. So it still could be a natural reaction to that. Potentially could be just to go out and take to nature, because they have to do something. There has to be, the water has to, if the water's getting all jammed up over here because they're not allowed to go out, not allowed to go to concerts, not allowed to get together, the NPC type, whatever it is very social, potentially much more social, or in my opinion, far more social than the real certain type of soul or spirit. We're not all introverts and people that don't leave their room very much like me. They're not people, but you have more of people like me that are more, what does John Nash say at the top of the dorm, on the dorm roof with a roommate that we don't realize is just a figment of his imagination. John Nash says, my teacher said that I was upon birth I was given two helpings of brain but only one helping of heart, or a half a helping of heart, and he says something like, people don't like me very much and I don't like them. And many of us are like that, including myself. You know, I can speak in front of a camera. I can tell jokes, but I I don't do much with people, and there's only a very, very few people I let in at all. And that's not particularly healthy either, Matt. Remember the Braveheart poster? Every man dies, not every man truly lives. And I better work on the latter. I need to work on the latter, but I think we have more people like that are just like, I don't know. The whole point of this was the NPC type is more social, in my opinion, than the ancient or old soul. Doesn't mean we're not social. You know, uh, I'll do social things, but there's very few people I want to do those things with, I guess is what I'm saying. So let me collect my thoughts here. Zara, I think, wants to be fed, and I will be back. All right, just to summarize, hopefully you've already provided your comment or voted as to what side you come down on here. But I'll just tell you what I think. Um, I believe as time as I really maybe it was just done out of anger or spite because people around me they don't see what we can see, and it's frustrating. And I did for many years just say that it just has to be NPCs and they're on the download. But I've mentioned this a few times in the past that I have come around, and as time goes by, um, they are much more real to me. I just attributed that they could be a different type of incarnation. That doesn't mean they're doomed, in my opinion. They could be baby souls that have so many more things to experience and so many more things to do, but they still can, turn from wood into real boy or real girl Pinocchio. I've totally come full circle on this in terms of how real, potentially real, these people can be, because I've seen how the reality's tricks and tactics to tune it's tuned even real spiritual beings, real people to its frequency. There are people that are just as real as you and I that will try to sit down and tell you all about the great things Dr. F is doing and have done. I mean, it's not like that if you're a real spiritual entity of the highest level that you haven't fallen for the tricks of this reality system. We kind of forget that at times. Like it doesn't matter if this is the group of real spirits. We're the people watching videos like this or pondering these types of subjects are still in a tiny little sliver of minority. There's potentially millions of real spiritual entities of the highest level that are parroting back every single thing the news says. These are the tactics of the reality itself to tune them to the frequency. So they run their scripts and they take their downloads. It's just now those people that are like us, I believe, if we can just somehow, whatever might upset the apple cart, get them off the frequency a little bit, up the dial, then all of a sudden they might very quickly be able to come around to the nature of the trick that was being dropped on them and understand more about who they really are. I think they have a better chance of kind of recovering where the different type of incarnation maybe they might be locked in the frequency and they might be locked in the frequency for their entire lives. But that doesn't mean over the course of whatever how many lifetimes or journey that they're not doomed. That's my belief. I almost believe that I do believe that manifestation comes into play, meaning that if our entire community for 10 years straight said nothing other than these people are just background players that they're nothing, they have no real spirit, they all go to the abyss, they're doomed. I believe we can facilitate that if we believe that. Um, it's not all or none, I think, well, I'm not going to say who or any, but there's some people get, in terms of this, when people say new age, you're talking reality creation. It's not all or none. When you talk about, or if I talk about how potentially a collective conscious can influence reality, it's not like it's ridiculous then to jump from level 1 to level 100 and say, okay, then just imagine you have a pool outside and a hot tub and you have a Hugh Hefner party going on. You can create reality, right? Just create it. No, it's not. It's not all or none. It's not all or none. We don't exactly know how it works, but the one bit of evidence, the huge evidence that says that the collective conscious of at least of real souls or real spirits or real entities, what supports this more than anything else is how we're constantly used and manipulated and tricked and lied to by the not milk screen reality. We've observed time after time after time. In most cases, in the most important things, it can't go do it itself. It needs to play a trick on us. And it's not a trick so we just get up off our chair and go build something for it. I mean, a trick so we manifest something for it. We're an ingredient in some case. And it's not all or none. I mean, just to but how, these are hard subjects to talk about. When we talk about it, we'll end up talking about the collective conscious of real spirits in some way manifesting or creating reality. But how else are you going to talk about it? These are things that we don't truly understand. And it doesn't mean that I could just imagine a jumbo jet outside and I can just get on and, fly somewhere. No, it doesn't, it's not all or none. There's a gray area in here, and all the evidence is, I mean, why does one play a trick? Why does a reality system or the not milk or the creeps, why does anybody play a trick to get something or someone to do something that they wouldn't normally do? And in this case, to do something that they need to do on behalf of, or not on behalf, but because the creeps or the screen not milk reality can't do it itself. I believe in that. I believe in the concept of generator beings. I really believe that without at least a certain type of entity here, that this reality would collapse. I really believe that. I mean, if you don't believe that, then then you then you would believe the opposite. That what a big bang came first, something blew up somewhere, and then that flew right in the face of the second law of thermodynamics. Everything goes towards entropy, and life formed, and consciousness sprung from. I mean, that's ridiculous. So if you don't believe that, the opposite is consciousness came first. Well, if consciousness came first, then the what plays out in a reality system is in some way driven by consciousness. That's whether you believe in the double slit experiment or not. It's irrelevant. It's you can still get to the same conclusion whether you're a double slit experiment person or not. Anyway, straying a bit, I guess. Is there anything else I wanted to talk about regarding this topic? I don't think so. I'll try to think for a second and come back if there is. But if not, guys, I'll try to do the stalled century presentation tomorrow. And Governor here would like to say, don't forget, if you can, visit Dallesh.